In today's session, we do a deep dive into the personality and characteristics of right-wing authoritarians. We note that they are submissive, aggressive, and conventional. They also lack basic critical thinking skills, self-awareness, and exhibit a high degree of self-compartmentalization. There is evidence to suggest that these personality traits are selected for by evolutionary and genetic processes, although they can be modified by education. Right-wing authoritarians show a high degree of submission to authorities who they perceive to be established and legitimate in the society in which they live. Right-wing authoritarians can be characterized as quote-unquote bootlickers who rarely question authorities even when they are dishonest, corrupt, or inept. They believe that this respect is necessary for everyone in the community. Authorities are allowed to do whatever they like by these individuals, even if that means breaking the law. In contrast, they are dismissive and rebellious towards leaders they consider illegitimate. A general aggressiveness directed against particular people that is perceived to be sanctioned by the established authorities. This aggression kicks in towards people their leaders have marked as enemies. What often triggers this violence is fear of other people. This can include terrorists, foreigners, and those they believe to be morally degenerate, like homosexuals and atheists. They also show a high degree of adherence to social conventions that are perceived to be endorsed by society. Right-wing authoritarians don't like to stand out. They want to be like everyone else, but they want everyone else to be conventional and like them as well. These people don't like diversity. Religiously, right-wing authoritarians tend to be fundamentalists and heterosexual. They dislike extramarital sex, homosexuality, nudity, and pornography. These results have been obtained using the right-wing authoritarian scale. It has been used to measure this personality type primarily in Western countries. The United States, it turns out, far outscores other comparable nations, with a full 1/4 or 25% scoring high on the scale, when the other countries only scoring about half this, on averaging around 10 to 12%. Studies have found that persons who score highly on the RWA scale as a group have highly compartmentalized thinking. They use a lot of double standards. They believe many conflicting and even contradictory things. They have a lot of trouble deciding what is sound evidence. Their thinking is highly ethnocentric. They are decidedly prejudiced in what they believe about others. And finally, they are very dogmatic about their beliefs. A few other psychological characteristics of right-wing authoritarians include a lack of general knowledge and information about current events. They also appear to, as we said before, lack some degree of self-awareness. They think they are average, but are in fact different from the majority. They often avoid contact with people who differ from them, which probably reinforces the belief that they are normal. Finally, and as we have reported elsewhere, they have higher levels of physical disgust, which has been found to correlate with moral disgust. Right-wing individuals experience pleasure in other people's demise, what is known as Schadenfreude. They seem to have little empathy for those deemed as enemies. They can be bullyish and believe that hostility and intimidation will get them what they want. Some experiments have shown that a sense of self-righteousness and fear of a dangerous world together highly predict aggressive behavior for those in this group. There is an indication, especially among Trump supporters in America, that they get their news almost exclusively from right-wing sources such as Fox News. This means they don't hear alternative perspectives from the media or from their acquaintances who hold similar beliefs. This makes them susceptible to con men from within their own ranks, who they can accept unquestioningly. They are insensitive to cues that such people might be untrustworthy and can be easily swayed by them. Dean and Altemeyer report a simulated study using individuals who scored either low or high on the RWA scale. Groups in this study were tasked with performing actions to save the Earth. The lows were able to work together cooperatively to demilitarize and produce sustainable economic development. The highs, on the other hand, distrusted other groups and failed to work together with them. The results were the start of a nuclear war and the death of several billion people from starvation and disease. RWA correlates with Republican Party affiliation in the US and the Conservative or Reform Party in Canada. They are highly nationalistic, oppose abortion, support capital punishment, favor gun ownership, and do not value social equality. They prefer punishment over freedom and are willing to suspend guarantees of liberty like the Bill of Rights. A different trait, called social dominance orientation, or SDO for short, measures the extent to which an individual supports social hierarchy and dominance over others. SDOs are typically driven, tough, and seek power. Although there is some overlap between SDO and RWA measures, there are also some key differences. People scoring high on social dominance may be more likely to be leaders, while those scoring high on right-wing authoritarianism are more likely to be followers. According to regality theory, authoritarianism is a reaction to external threats and may have evolved in response to perceived collective danger. The tendency to support a strong leader may have caused groups to survive when threatened by others by making war against them. The strong bonding with a leader and other group members in this context can motivate people to act collectively and help to suppress free riders. There is some evidence to suggest that right-wing authoritarian characteristics are genetically based. In one twin study, individual differences in scores were largely attributed to genetic contributions. In contrast, social dominance orientation was mostly attributed to environmental sources. Education may be an important environmental factor that can affect right-wing leanings. A separate study showed that those with a 4-year undergraduate education scored 10% lower on right-wing authoritarian measures.